I'm joined in the line here with former WBO super featherweight champion Barry Jones. Barry, how's things, mate?
Yeah, fantastic, pal. Really good.
Really good.
Really good, yeah.
Barry, you won the silver at the European Champions as an amateur. What was that like?
Do you know, it was one of the most rewarding experiences of my career. I got to be honest, because I sort of had to box a Welsh kid, a good kid called Russell Rees, to qualify to go for Wales to select me to go, which was a daunting task in itself. And then I also entered the Welsh Senior ABA Championships, which sort of coincided at the same time. So I sort of won the Welsh title against a guy called Paul Samuels, who ended up being a very good professional boxer at light middleweight. And then the day later, the next day, then I was on a coach up to Edinburgh for the European Championships, where I boxed every fight as if it was the final, and then got to the final and got handily beat by I think he might be a Ukrainian, but they were called the Commonwealth of Independent States back in '92,
Right.
just after the split. Yeah, and then that was on a Saturday. Then on the Monday, on the Sunday, sorry, I was catching a coach to Gateshead for the semis of the ABA Championships.
Awesome.
So I had about 7 fights in 13 days, I think. Which is pretty hard going. Yeah,
Good.
but it was great. It was great. Sorry, it was great. The experience was fantastic, and just to get a medal, just to be there was an experience, but to get a medal, it was something I'm very, very proud of.
Yeah, I'd spoke to Alex Afford before, and he says when he won his medal for Scotland in the Commonwealth, he says it's a different feeling. It's like a different feeling when you're one that representing your nation. He says there's more pride involved in it rather than individual titles where you're doing it for yourself.
Yeah, it's weird. It is weird because boxing's a selfish sport. So whether you're amateur, professional, you are, and it's for you. That's what keeps you involved in the sport. I was a boxing fan when I was a young kid, but it was ultimately what made me stick to the sport was win or lose, you got a trophy. So that was self gain. I was totally selfish. I played rugby and football, and basketball was one of my favourite sports. But you'd have to play a whole season to get a plaque. And then I had my first amateur fight when I was 10 years of age, and I lost, and I got a trophy. And I thought, well, this is fantastic. I have to know this. So, and that's how it is, But representing your country is something that you're always proud of. And I tell all this to all the boxers, and I was told this myself. When you retire, you look back, and if you win something as an amateur, something worthwhile, then you look back at that probably more fondly than you do any of your professional journey.
Yeah, well, that's funny because Alex Harford did say something similar that was his favourite. That was his favourite thing looking back on was what he'd done as an amateur. So it's a bit weird that you're saying that or not.
Yeah, it's weird. It's because there's no politics. I mean, there are politics involved in amateur boxing, probably just as bad, but you don't really notice that as a young boxer. Even when you're boxing at the senior level, you're still relatively young and sort of blinkered from it all, so you don't really see what goes on behind the scenes. When it's a professional, you're more involved, and you see that you're not. It's all about money. It gets to a point in your career where it's all about money, and you see people getting opportunities ahead of you, and also you get opportunities ahead of other people as well. But you see, it's not always about. Ultimately, as an amateur, the talent, most 95% of the time, talent rises to the top. Whereas in professional boxing, that might not always be the case.
Yeah. When you had that success in the European Championships, is that when did you know then that you wanted to become a pro, or was it still?
No, I didn't. I had no. I got to be honest. I always dreamed of being the next Sugar Ray Leonard, as everyone did at sort of my age. But I never really thought about turning pro, and I certainly wanted to be an ABA champion, and I certainly wanted, like every young boxer, win an Olympic gold medal. But realistically, which would it be for me, is win a medal in the Commonwealth Games. I think that was a realistic goal for me back then. But I think the Commonwealth Games was another 2 years, and there was a guy who ended up being my first trainer called Pat Thomas, who was a two-time British champion at welterweight and light middleweight. He was always down our gym training, saying how good of a professional boxer I would be. And I'm not trying to slag him off for this, but I got my ear I got turned. I pretty much got he fantasized. I got the fantasy of being a professional fighter and everything else, and I sort of my head
Yeah,
got
kind
turned.
of the
and I
glitz
turned
that
pro.
comes with it.
Yeah, I shouldn't have turned pro. In reality, I should have waited till I was an immature 18-year-old, and I should have sort of turned pro at sort of 21, 22, really.
Yeah. How did you find the transition for going from amateur to pro?
So in one way, I didn't notice it, and in another way, extremely difficult. And I say that because I never changed my style. Oh, actually, I did change my style. It's the weirdest thing because I changed my style. I ended up boxing more like an amateur boxer as a pro than I did as an amateur. Again, it was my first trainer, Pat Thomas, and he had this because I sort of had good natural movement. I think. I know I wasn't the best of fighters, but I had no power. But he had a vision of the way I should box, and pretty much he wanted me boxing. He's more like a 6'4" dancer. He was dancing around, flicking the jab out and stuff. And I'm a short little featherweight, and I was always a mover. My feet were always my asset, but I was never a dancer like I was as a pro. I was a tremendous body puncher as an amateur, and I wasn't a big puncher, but I had a bit of a weight behind my shots. This just sounds crazy because I had no power at all as a pro, but I would stop people as an amateur, especially with body shots. I would just hit them and walk away. I knew I'd done them, and so I was more of an aggressive counter puncher, if you like.
Yeah.
Not quite that. I don't want to oversell it, to be honest, but I wasn't a Ricky Hatton, but I was, every trainer I've had, and everyone I've always said I can't believe you can't punch, because I could obviously add some sort of weight, but as the way that Pat Thomas had the vision of me of boxing, and I did what you should do. Once you decide that's your trainer, he's your boss, you do what you're told, and that's what it used to be back then. And he had a vision for me, and I just went along with that vision, and so it formed my style as a pro, which was more like an amateur, moving all the time, but I had fast hands, and so in the end I stopped trying to hold my feet to throw punches, which was a mistake, and I just used what I had, which was fast hands, fast feet, and so that got me through. So yeah, but I didn't really ever, use the 12 round distance problem where you could sort of hold your feet a little bit and put a bit of weight purchase on your punches. And listen, if you could do it all again, you would change little things.
Yeah.
But you name me a fighter who wouldn't, and then I'll show you a liar. To be honest, I overachieved, so I'm relatively happy with my career. Let's be truthful.
The things that you're saying now, do you pass that on to like younger fighters now and kind of tell them to watch out for?
Yeah, I do, because not everyone. I think people get et up on, and more so now than ever before, about power. Everyone wants to be explosive, everyone wants to knock everyone out, and everyone wants to try and sell themselves. I understand that, but very few people got natural power. So a lot of things, everyone can punch, and everyone can punch, because it's all good technique.
Yeah.
And I try and instill that with people. If I ever speak, I don't train anybody, but I go down, my friend's got a boxing gym local to me, and I'm down there as much as I can. And I do try and say, listen, it's about turning from your waist. And when I commentating with the undercard fights on smaller shows, I mentioned it a lot about, just pushing from your legs and turning from your core, and being, and good technique and keeping your shape is very important. Technique is everything, and I think that helps with power.
Yeah.
But you've got to work to your strengths, and you've got to work to your strengths, but work on your weaknesses, and it's just trying to get a happy balance of what you've got. Some people are big punchers and they can't box, and some people can box but can't really punch as bad. But it don't mean that you can't get stoppages, and I think I needed someone like that to slow me down a little bit, and so I try and tell that to people. You got more. That's why the main thing for youngsters is you've got more time in there than you think.
Yeah, kind of just get your fundamentals perfected.
Yeah, well, you want to, especially in the first couple of fights, you want to show off. You want to show people, you'll work on moves, working on the body, or throw combinations, and they'll be so fast that little feints you do it so fast that it's so fast the opponent hasn't seen it, so it hasn't worked.
Yeah.
It's been a waste of time. You slow, you've got a little bit. You can just pause for half a second and make the movement. And that's for the guy to see it, to turn his body, and then you open the gap up. And I think, I never did that. There's all these massive movements, and the guy's never seen it. So I wasn't setting traps. I was just moving around like an idiot.
Yeah.
So I think, so you just take your time and good technique. And I think that's that's very important for any young kid.
When you had turned professional, I think it was after about 5 fights, you were fighting on the Ben Eubank undercard at Old Trafford.
Yeah, oh, it was unbelievable. You know what? It was a funny thing because the week before, I was a good ticket seller in Cardiff. I wasn't good to watch, but I was a really good ticket seller. And then, I ran from a big council estate in Cardiff called Ely, so we had people get to know you quickly, and I could sell my dad's help. My brother was quite a popular lunatic, so I could sell a lot of tickets. And then I was sulking because Lewis and Frank Bruno were boxing in the old National Stadium the week before, and I was sulking watching that in the rugby club near my house. And I remember I was having curry and chips. That was the deal. It was like £5 to get in, curry and chips, and watched Lennox Lewis versus Bruno for the World Heavyweight Championship. I was thinking I should be on that bill. Why am I on that card? I could sell tickets, but I was really I felt sorry for myself. And then my father I got a phone call because I didn't have a mobile phone back then. My father got a phone call, come over and said, "Listen, they've offered you a box following Saturday in Old Trafford." And I just said yes, and I didn't know who I was fighting. I was the opponent, to be honest. I was boxing a kid called John White from Salford, who was undefeated in about 5. I think he had one less fight than me. I think it might have been 6 fights at the time, I think. Yeah, and I came up against him, and a guy who could punch a little bit. Or Robin Reed, I spoke to about 2 years ago. He used to train with John White and said he couldn't believe how hard he hit. But I never felt that because I just didn't keep my feet still long enough for him to land any punches. And I boxed up my skin. It was fantastic. It was a great experience. The whole, because back then, there was only 5 fights on the bill. It wasn't like it is now. There's 25 fights and you're on at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
I was on at like 6. I was on early, or 6:30 or 7 or something like that. It was really early, but yeah, there was a crowd. The crowd used to turn up quite early then, so there wasn't 40,000 people there, but there was probably over 10 or 12. It was just a great experience for a young guy, and boxing away from home, probably another underdog. But I never took any notice of being an underdog or who I was fighting because there was no YouTube. The internet was around, but nobody really used it. So, you just didn't know who you were fighting. You didn't have a clue.
Yeah.
And you didn't really care because as an amateur, you never knew who you were fighting. You didn't train for styles. You just worked on yourself. And so in some ways, that innocence helped you become a better fighter.
Yeah.
Mentally more than physically, because you had to be, on your game all the time. You didn't know, unless you were boxing Peter Buckley, which I did a few times. Then you knew that was a given win. But and that was usually he would just turn up because your opponent pulled up the night before.
Yeah.
So it was quite nice not having that knowledge. That you have to be mentally prepared to have the fight of your life, just in case you didn't know your opponent, and he could turn out to be, the next
big thing. Yeah,
you didn't know. Yeah, like even I remember going back to my first fight. I boxed a kid called Con McMullen. Well, Con didn't turn out to be the great fighter, but he was 3-0 with 2 knockouts when I boxed him.
Yeah, I was reading that earlier on. He was quite highly rated before he fought you.
Yeah, he was a lower weight than me, but I was never really a featherweight. I was always a super bantamweight, boxing a featherweight, to be honest. I know I won a world title at super feather, but that wasn't by choice. That was just I got offered the title shot and I moved up a weight and I got stuck there. That was it. I was always, in my mind, I was always going to be a super bantamweight. But when I turned professional, the super bantamweight wasn't really that. There was about 6 in the country, so I had no interest in it. I wanted to be a featherweight British champion. That was traditionally a great honour to win, and I thought that was my goal. So super bantamweight was a relatively new division in Britain, relatively,
Yeah.
So I had no interest, but that was me. I think my first fight I weighed about 11 or something like that. I could have made super bantam quite quick. But certainly I boxed with Con McMullen. I was 18 years of age, my debut, and he could have been the next big thing. It was weird back then. They would just chuck you in. It was just. They didn't chuck you in. They knew, but they never seen Con McMullen, my manager or my trainer. They just, by word of mouth, they have to trust someone else's opinion.
Yeah, well, I suppose you didn't have the YouTubes or then to kind of do research on people.
That's right, no, and that's what makes it hard for promoters today, because they can't get away with bringing over road sweepers like they used to years ago, because people just go on YouTube and see how rubbish they are.
Yeah.
And so boxers now get a hard, they fight. They have a lot of things easier than we used to, and what fighters before me used to have. but also they get a lot of criticism because there's no hiding place. Before, any promoter could just put a big spin on this guy. He might have lost 13 fights out of 50, but he's been in with the great fighters, and he's real tough. Maybe a tough Mexican. Well, a tough Mexican now is tough. What would be called a tough Mexican in the 80s and early 90s is what we regard as a bum now, or whatever they call it. You can't hide anymore.
Yeah.
And the YouTube and the internet's been good and bad for that, I think.
Yeah, and I suppose it's like you've got the other side where you see box records and it's padded records, it's maybe fights going on to box rec where it's been actually in a gym, it's not actually been a proper fight.
And it also helps with fans. I think I think all the internet it's hurt promoters more than anyone else.
Yeah.
Well, it has, hasn't it? It's really made the job so more difficult because people can see padded records. I think that a boxing fan nowadays. Listen, they're so a lot of boxing fans, especially on social media, are so critical and it's cruel.
Yeah.
It's cruel. It is cruel, and everyone's an expert because we have more information.
Yeah, Twitter's Twitter's a jungle.
I don't sign up to the thing that you have to be a former boxer to be a voice or an opinion on boxing. There's certain things that unless you've been punched in the face, and unless you've been punched in the face at a certain level, you don't know what it's like. So you can't argue. But I don't think anyone who's never you can't say he quit.
Yeah.
Or he bottled it. If you've never fought yourself, you don't know what it's like.
Yeah.
But if you do know what it's like, then you're entitled to say no, he's quit. I know that because we've all been in there when I've been in a few fights where I've wanted to just take a step off the rope and start again tomorrow, and you can't. There's no shame in that. I didn't do it. That's why. But you have wanted to go. Or should I just stay down, or should I just take a knee now? Because it's hard.
Yeah, well, that's it. You don't play boxing, huh?
Yeah. Once you get punched in the face, it's not the best thing to do. But also, I think fans are more educated now than before, so they have more of a valid opinion on. Hang on, this guy might be only lost 3 fights, but who's he boxed?
Well, yeah, it's even on Box Nation now, it's like you're quite widely regarded as the hardcores pundit. You're the kind of the guy who just calls it like you see it, which is quite refreshing in itself as well.
I do, but to be honest, I'm not. I try and be honest, but I think a lot of people. I think that some people get. Say Sky, for instance. I know there's probably an agenda there, but they're a bigger channel with. They don't have to show. They don't have to accommodate the boxing fan because you're going to watch Sky anyway.
Yeah.
So they're maybe edging or trying to advertise to the people who are not really massive boxing fans, so they can not fabricate, but they can romance stories more and stuff because you're going to watch it. They don't have to sell the fight to you. You're an educated boxing fan. You know whether it's a good fight or a bad fight, but they're going to sell this fight, which is again because of the internet. This fight's so one-sided and real, but then they're going to sell it to the guy who doesn't have a clue, who just switched over from watching whatever they have, the fishing on the other channel, and they're going to tell him this is a fight of this guy's life. So he's going to watch this, and then and then you entice a new fan then, and then 6 months down the line, that same guy's flagging it off because this is fucking rubbish. So Box Nation is a little bit different because you only subscribe to Box Nation if you are a boxing fan or a fan or friend of one of the guys who's boxing, so you have a bit of an idea. So we can be a bit more honest.
Yeah.
But still, without being cruel. There's no point in saying. I think I try and be that early in a guy's career. If I'm commentating more than being a pundit, I would try and be a bit more. I'll be easy on him. They should be doing this, not a bad performance, and then as they tag up the title level, they make the same mistakes. Then you could be a bit more critical because they shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's hard. It's hard to get the balance right sometimes, and it's very difficult when you start to know the fighters personally. I don't really get involved with boxing, but when you start to meet them, and they're a nice guy.
Human nature takes in.
And also not everyone's a nice guy. You don't always want to be nice to people, but you have to try and be as impartial as you can possibly be. And
yeah, that's a road to success as a pundit. But it was just to ask you next, you fought for the WBO title against Wilson Palacio, and you beat him quite soundly on the cards. What do you remember about that night, and how did that feel?
The whole thing was bizarre. You sort of opportunities and stuff. And I said earlier about people getting deserved shots and non-deserved shots. I won an Intercontinental title in the IBF, and then I defended it against a really good guy called Afi Dejeldi, who went to be a European champion, beat a couple of guys over here, like a couple of good guys around the top 3 or 4, or 2 or 3 in Britain. And that sort of got me like the top 11 rate or 15 rating in the world for the IBF. And then I got a phone call from Ernie Fossey, which was Frank Warren's old matchmaker. He's dead now. And he said, "Do you want to box for a world title?" So I think I told him to fuck off. And I always remember this. I had one of those mobile phones back then, and then you could buy a mobile phone for like 60 quid, and it would literally last. It could last 6 months or 6 hours. One of those dodgy ones, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, a big brick with a big antenna. It was one of those. I had it for about 2 months. You know, so 60 quid is like the best thing I ever had. I thought I was like a multi-millionaire. So anyway, he rung me on his phone. He rung me back. What the fuck's going on? You know, he's copying the accent. I go, "Well, do you want to box a world title?" I said, "Okay." And I will ring you back Monday. So I rang my dad. I said, "Dad, we've got a box a world title." And I think he told me to fuck off. And then, or something like that. Anyway, so I said, "No, I said, I'm boxing a world title." He said, "When?" I said, "I don't know." "How much?" I said, "I didn't ask." "Who are you fighting?" I said, "Oh, Dad, I'll ring you back." Because I didn't even ask. He said, "You want to box?" It turned out to be 3 weeks' notice.
Oh, I didn't realise that.
I didn't know what weight it was going to be, because I was a IBF super featherweight Intercontinental champion, but I always thought I was looking at Paul Ingle, the featherweight champion.
Mm-hmm.
That's who I wanted to fight. You know, I probably would have got beat there, to be honest, against Paul Ingle for the British title. So lucky am I in many ways, but you know, I was looking at that title. That was my featherweight, and even thinking if I can get on the super bantamweight there, because Spencer Oliver was European champion, or was due to fight the European, and Patrick Mullins was around with really good fights, and I would have been really big for super bantamweight, you know. And I thought, I fancy my chances. I got a bit of strength, but anyway, so I'm stuck at super feather, and I get this call. So we go back home and we get up the Boxing Monthly. Because that was the ratings, the Boxing News would have ratings every week. You couldn't check on the internet, so Boxing Monthly had the last ratings at the date. And the IBF champion was Arturo Gatti.
Oh, yeah.
So, but I knew he was moving up in weight because he couldn't make the weight at all, I think. But the number one contender for that title was Azuma Nelson.
Yeah.
So I'm going, fucking hell, I'm going to fight Azuma Nelson. Not, even though Azuma Nelson was about 72 then, but still,
he's still
too good.
Still decent.
Back of me, yeah, he would have fucking smashed me to pieces, wouldn't he? There's no bones about that. But I didn't care. I'm boxing Azuma Nelson for a world title. Dreams are made of that. You know, they are, aren't they? It's like,
yeah.
You know, I box Azuma Nelson. I box an all-time living legend. I'm proud.
The greatest African boxer there's ever been, probably.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. And if I beat him, I'll get criticised for him in not being as, in being an old man. But in years to come, I beat Azuma Nelson. Don't ever forget about the rest. And the fact that he probably would have beat me, but I would have shown a little bit of courage, and I would have got a badge for trying my best against a legend in my 18th fight and going too early, so I wouldn't have cared. Anyway, it turned out to be the WBO title because Julian Lawsey and this fella called Castillo had drawn twice. They didn't want to fight each other for a third time, so I boxed this fella who had a decent record, but I think he was a lightweight. So we had a lightweight and a featherweight boxing for a super featherweight title in this crazy world of boxing.
Yeah, that's boxing for you.
Yeah, and I think I got the world title shot because Floyd Howard, who was a really good fighter from Swansea, he turned it down. I think he either had 4.5 weeks' notice and it wasn't enough notice, or he hurt his hand and he couldn't. So I took the fight at 3 weeks' notice. Turned up in London, and London Arena. It's not there anymore in the Docklands, and and I boxed this fella, and it was a boring fight, and I think I hurt my shoulder in like the second round. I think he punched me and hurt my shoulder. But yeah, I won. Everyone was close, but I think I was just nicking every round, so that's why the scorecards were quite wide.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a world champion. I'm again, it's like what dreams are made of, isn't it? But boxing can be the greatest sport and the worst sport. I think my sort of situation shows both where a guy.
Yeah, well, that's what I was just going to move on to. That is like, I mean, you went for kind of living the dream of being the world champion. It looked as if you were going to get a big money fight, and then, well, what happened with the British Boxing Board of Control with your licence?
Yeah, it was. I remember saying at the time, it was like winning the lottery. like walking into Camelot with the ticket and then a fucking gust of wind blowing it away.
Yeah.
And, you know, and it was that close because, you know, ultimately, you know, I never boxed for the money because I never thought I'd earn any money because, you know, I always worked. I worked up until I won the world title. And I was fine with that. You know, boxing was just a thing I loved to do. And that's what made it enjoyable because I never thought about earning money out of the sport. I just wanted to win stuff, you know. It was easy then. But then once I won that world title, it became about, I can make some money. I had a contract for 6 fights and it was a lot of money. And I thought if I can get this like 5 defences now, I'm a relatively rich-ish young man, you know, and I'll be it then. I'll be gone. You wouldn't see me again.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I had a change in my scans where the scans went from CT to MRI scans, and 98 was the first time they had to compare from the first time they did 97. So 98 was the second scan, so they had the first time they could compare MRI scans, and there was a change in my scan. And we don't get too technical into it. It's called a cavum septum pellucidum, and my thing had moved by 0.2 of a millimetre. So 0.2 of a millimetre stripped me of my world title.
It was. It just seemed as if there was a lot of people when I was trying to read into it. It just seems as if there was a lot of rules getting made up on the spot.
Yeah, to be honest, I think it was nothing personal against me. It wasn't like but I think I took the brunt of just the current climate. I think Michael Watson was suing the boxing board for his accident. I think, and then Spencer Oliver, I think it was like the March of that year, he collapsed in the ring for his European title shot off defence. And it was just a bad time for boxing to be having another guy have a problem with his scan. And also I made a mistake where, you know, it was I was sort of told about it, and everyone knew people knew that I had a problem with my scan, but it wasn't reported because no one had come out and publicly said I had a problem with my scan.
Yeah.
And I spoke to a local reporter who was a friend of mine. We're still friends now, but he didn't really do me a disservice by saying, listen, I know I'm going to write the story, best to get your words. And being naive, I thought, well, he's a friend of mine, so why wouldn't he? Why shouldn't I?
Yeah.
And I could just kept my mouth shut, so I told him, and then the next day, then it's all over the local papers, and then it ended up being, you know, a little bit of a story. It wasn't national news, no one gave a shit about me, but I think it helped the boxing board show the British Medical Association who were trying to ban boxing again, like they used to every sort of like 7 years.
Yeah, every few years the argument comes up, doesn't it?
And I think they just said, listen, no, we're so safety conscious that we'll even stop one of our world champions from boxing if we see it medically unfit. But I wasn't a Bruno or a Nazim Hamid or a Eubank or a Ben or any of those big names who were around at the time. I was a guy who was worth no money, no finance, no commercial value to anyone. So I was a bit of a scapegoat, I felt, and it turned out that I sort of think I proved there was nothing wrong. I proved there was no proof there was anything wrong with me. That's very important to say that. There was no proof there was anything wrong with me. And they tried to use a theory to say why they shouldn't let me box, but the same theory they rubbished 10 years earlier in the 80s when the British Medical Association used this Dr. Casellas theory to try and ban boxing, and the British Medical Association got enough doctors together to rubbish this theory. Then they tried to use that Casellas theory to stop me from fighting, but I'd already done my research and said, well, you can use that theory. But anyway, they chucked me away anyway. They said, no, sorry, you can't get your licence back, and that's when I lost my world title, and that's where I lost my defences, and that's where I lost my financial...
Yes, financial parachute.
Yeah, and to be fair to Frank Warren, listen, he didn't do it just for me, but I benefited from it, and he got a doctor friend of mine went to see him, Ray Monsell, who really saved my career in many ways. He's a close family friend as well. He went to see Frank and pretty much say, listen, the problem that Barry has with the MRI scans could be an issue for a lot of other fighters because I don't think it's a real problem. And I remember by this time I was having IQ tests. I was just above average. I couldn't believe that. I kept taking another test to prove that first test was right because I thought I was thick as shit. But anyway, that was... And I was having scans overhydrated, dehydrated. You know, I was radioactive. I could turn a light switch off from 100 yards away. I was like a walking battery. It was ridiculous. But I took all these tests and everything was fine, and I showed I was okay. But ultimately it was Ray Monsell went to Frank and said, listen, this could happen to other fighters. So then Frank went and got a barrister his name was Bertie Lee, and he cost a lot of money, and Frank footed the bill, to be fair. I had to pay a couple of quid towards something, but he footed the bill. And we went with an appeals, and then within, what was it, 25 minutes I got my licence back.
Oh, see, to be honest, you hear all the horror stories about with Frank, or the negative stuff. It's like you never actually hear somebody saying like, Frank really got your chance back to me, like, go back in and fight for your title.
He did that. He did that for me, and I listen. It was probably because of the risk of his bigger names. I know I work for Frank, but I don't know Frank well enough. He's always been great to me, but I don't know him, really too well. But he did that for me. So whether it was because he was worried about his other fights or not, that's irrelevant. I still benefited from that, and he paid for that, and I never had to pay for it. And and I had to pay for other stuff, but he did that and off his own back, and you okay, we get your license back and stuff, and then even when I was boxing Freitas again, there was some bad press under the Sunday broadsheets, and he went straight on the offensive with them and threatened to sue them if they didn't put a retraction in, and he could just let it go, and more importantly, he could have washed his hands of me, where even though he got my license back, who wants to promote a boxer who's had any whiff of any medical brain injury?
Yeah, that's it.
Or brain problem, anything. I didn't have any brain injuries in the end, and I think I've proved that now. But the worst thing about the Medical Association, the British Boxing Board, was they said that as far as I was in no immediate danger, but maybe. Sorry, mate. 2 seconds. Oh, sorry. Yeah, of course I can. Yes. Yeah. They said that it might be maybe in the future there's a chance I could have increased senility.
Well, surely every boxer has that kind of.
That's exactly what I said. I said, well, now you're talking. That's a moral decision, not a medical decision, because if that's the case, ban boxing, because that's a risk for us all. Because we all take punches. Every bang on the head's trauma.
Yeah.
So, that's a moral decision. That's not a medical decision. There's nothing physically wrong with me right now. Then let me fight. Otherwise, because if there was an aftercare in boxing, there's no aftercare in boxing.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. But if there was an aftercare in boxing, there might not be any boxing.
Yeah.
I mean, boxers are better prepared now and they train better now than they used to. But look about footballers, and they're all bow-legged, and they're not about footballers now heading the ball being an issue. But how many ex-boxers do you know now who are sort of in their 60s and stuff who don't sound as sprightly as they used to?
Yeah, so they kind of know how to know when to hang up their gloves now, and when the damage is kind of getting done. When you look at the old school, when you watch like the Sugar Ray Robinson, the way he ended up, he was just a shell. Yeah, man.
Exactly. And to be honest, I could have been the same way. I'm moaning about stuff now because it's sort of shortened my career and my earning potential. But I could have lost my first defence, and then I could have got down the European level. I would have picked up the European title, I'm sure, because I'd already beat the European champion. But then I could have been having wars with Michael Gomez at British level and them sort of fights, and then I could have gone until I was like 37, and ended up being a journeyman, and who knows what they could have done me a favour, because I was always that. What could I have been? But I always felt that I never got no recognition for winning a world title because it got cut so short. I was always the guy who was just lucky, or I can't remember him because I had my 15 minutes and it was only 15 minutes. So you sort of feel a little bit embarrassed.
It's that thing.
No, it's opened me up a little bit, but you'd be embarrassed because no one knew who you were, but that's because that's just the state of boxing now. Before world champions, ABA champions were known.
Yeah.
The people on the streets now, you got world champions who nobody knows, and I was one of those who got lost in the myriad of multi-world championships. Yeah,
it's kind of that way. No boxer wants to lose his title outside the ring. Yeah.
No, so it's difficult, especially when it's not your fault. It's not as if I was a very clean living and I'm not a hooligan. I didn't go fighting. I didn't drink. I don't drink. I didn't drink now. I haven't drunk since I was 17, so I didn't go down the piss all the time and stuff like that. And so I sort of lived a decent life, and just trained hard and was lucky to win a world title. But I thought, I'd want to get some recognition. But listen, this could have happened to me when I was Intercontinental champion or before that.
Yeah.
Who knows? I gave up boxing for 18 months to 2 years. I went to Ireland to work. So before before signing for Frank Warren, I was earning no money out of boxing, and I got a job to work in Ireland on a shopping centre to earn a fortune. To be honest, I was taking over £1,000 a week back in the early 90s. It was fantastic money.
Yeah,
so boxing was finished for me. I was undefeated as a pro, but I had to go with them. There was work, and I got a young family and stuff. So yeah, that could have happened then. That scams, and I would have been just one of thousands of boxers who just walked away from the sport and been forgotten about. So I've been. You got to look on the positives of things. It takes a long time when you retire to look on the positives of your career. But I look back at my career now. It's not a Kawasaki career or Froch career or anything like that. But it's I won a world title for God's sake, and I won titles, and I got to achieve my ambition. I got to fight a great fighter who beat me up initially, and admittedly, sorry, and I'm earning, and I'm involved in the sport I love now, and I'm doing something that I never thought I'd be able to do. Never thought I'd get the opportunity to do. So right now, I'm pretty happy. Got to be honest, mate.
Yeah. Well, it's just
and I talk a lot as well, as you can tell.
But everybody likes listening to you anyway, so that's all right.
Yes, it's weird, isn't it? Because I used to work for a chat line, and I used to get no fucking credit for it. Not really.
But you just kind of touched on it here, but when you made your comeback, you got to fight for your world title again against Angelino Freitas. Is that how you pronounce your name?
Freitas. Yeah, Angelino Freitas. Do you know what? It was funny, that fight, because... Sorry, was your question done?
No, I was just going to say, I was like, you got off to a good start in that fight. I believe you floored them, and then it kind of just went a wee bit pear-shaped for there.
But to be honest, it was never going to be anything but that. Let's be honest. He was. I think he was like 24 knockouts or something. And I had a video. That was one of the first fight, the only fight I had a video of, actually, and one of the only fighters I'd seen box before I boxed him as a professional. And it was about 6 fights and about 2 minutes of video. It was just him knocking people out.
Yeah.
It's fucking fantastic. What did you show me this for? I felt like saying, this don't help me out. Just don't help me. It just makes me more.
It just puts you, builds them up in your head.
What you showing me that for? I mean, like, it's just show me nothing. Just say, you fucking rubbish, you do it. But anyway, so I get this Vegas, but and when you look back, I'd had one fight in 18 months, and that was 6. I had one fight. I hadn't boxed for 6 months, which is nowadays they moan about that. So I had one fight in 18 months, and that was against Chris Williams. It was a good fight domestically, but it was a domestic fight.
Yeah.
And then I come up against Freitas again. I'm still not a super featherweight, really. Up against a guy who was, how he made super featherweight, God only knows, because he was just massive. I mean, ridiculously big. He actually didn't make the weight, and Ian Dark, I remember saying that on Sky. He was there at the weight, and he said he didn't make the weight. We were there, and I don't know how it was allowed, but it just somehow it got away with it. It was just the weirdest thing.
Yeah, probably
but I didn't care, because the night before he was like a dead man walking. He was just so dehydrated. I thought, like, I remember I used to walk at the weigh-ins with a Mars bar, chewing on a Mars bar, because I weighed 9 stone 2, and he weighed 9. He was like the one bit. He wasn't really. He's 9 stone 4, but not really. And he was just. But come fight night, he took his top off in the ring, and he just unfolded. He was just huge.
Yeah.
I remember me and my dad were laughing in the corner. I had to go, look at the fucking size of him. Like a fucking welterweight. And I never sparred for the fight either, because of all this brain scan stuff I got.
Yeah.
But you know what? They're all excuses, because he would have beat me anyway. And I know in your heart when you're in against a better fighter. And that's why the interview after the fight, I didn't make any excuse. I just said, listen, I tried my best, and he was too good for me. And that was the truth. I could have said, if I would have sparred, I would have had more fights, and this and that. If I wouldn't have had the brain scan stuff, I would have had 2 years of fights, and I probably would have been a better fighter for it if I would have kept the win.
Yeah.
But he probably still would have beat me, because ultimately he hit so fucking hard, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I never been on the floor in my life, and I had a decent chin, I thought, but he hit me so hard, my ribs are still not good to this day.
Yeah, oh God's sake. But
Yeah.
I suppose you got that bit of closure. A bit of closure getting back in against him, and seeing that. I mean, you lost your title outside the ring, but you got to go in and fight for it again against a guy that now held your title. So it's supposedly you get a bit of closure.
Yeah, it was a great guy to lose to. Like, I know it sounds weird, but in many ways. But the disappointing thing for me is I've never been announced in a fight as a world champion. You know, I never got that. That was probably the worst thing for me. Forget about all the other stuff. Is I never got a former world champion. In that fight, they introduced me as the challenger, but never as in the red corner, as blue corner, the former, the current champion, all that sort of stuff. I never got that.
Yeah.
Once, and that was sort of maybe a bit of a loss. But listen, I wouldn't have beat Freitas in a million years. I can, and the fact that I knocked him down the first 10 seconds just meant the fight went 10 seconds longer. That's all.
Yeah, I seen an interview with you, and you said you kind of, it was the worst thing that you could have done was knock him down early because you kind of made him angry.
I know. I joke about it, but I didn't know what to do then. I was sort of in no man's land because my whole thing for that fight, where I sort of half trained myself for that fight. It meant like Ronnie Rush, my trainer, was had lost interest in boxing a little bit at that time because of what happened to me, and Steve Robinson had left. But still Ronnie was. I loved Ronnie, and he'd been great to me. But then I trained myself a lot for that fight because it was a weird time with coming back, and I was bitter for the first time in my life. I was bitter over boxing because I never thought about boxing about the money. Those 2 years out, I just kept thinking about that contract that I had.
Yeah.
I wanted that money. Otherwise, I would have said, really, I would have gone, I'm not boxing Freitas.
Yeah.
I want 2 more fights first. I want to be really ready, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, and so, I trained to just keep out of the way, keep nice and tight, busy as I can be, but make him work hard because I knew he was struggling for the weight. I knew he'd try and batter me in the first few rounds, and I sort of, I won the 4th and the 5th on the judges' scorecards. Because when I was on my feet, I was boxing okay-ish. I was getting beat, but every time he hit me, the body shots, I think he popped my rib out my cartilage. I don't know how you do that, but apparently that's what he did, and I wasn't winded. I was just in pain, and it was the weirdest thing.
I could imagine it would be agony, yeah.
I watched it back, the video, and like once or twice, and you can see me on the floor, like really, like my face contorted, because I'm in pain, and you forget where you are. Then all of a sudden you think, shit, I'm in a fight here, and you've got to force yourself up.
Yeah.
and it's weird because my only loss as a professional turned out to be my most proudest moment.
Yeah.
Because I got knocked down 6 times and I got up 6 times.
Yeah, and as you said, with your rib and that bulging out cartilage, you kind of know that. I mean, we were talking about earlier on about people saying people quit. I'm quite sure that's a kind of situation where people would be allowed to maybe get counted out, Yeah,
well, you panic when you're on the floor. See, that's what happens. They're counting. You forget they're counting, and all of a sudden you hear 7, and you go, shit, fuck. And then the difference between, and there's a time when you think, so I'll not get up. But I did quit. I didn't quit, but I did quit because I was up against, truthfully, because I was in my corner, and I was getting battered if whatever round it was, the last round, and I could hear my dad going, I'm going to throw the towel in now to my trainer. And I never, if there was any fight left in me, I would have thrown the flurry, I would have done something, I would have moved, I would have done something for him to stop throwing the towel in. And I can't remember thinking it, but I must have somewhere in me thought, this is enough now. And I stayed on the ropes, and they threw the towel in, and so I did sort of quit, and I'm ashamed of that.
No, that's not you quitting, that's your corner doing their job,
but I could hear them, and I would have fought back. Like if I would have heard that 2 rounds earlier, as much, I was taking a bigger height in 2 rounds earlier, I still would have fought back, I think, and by that point, I think the fight had just been punched out to me.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have gone down. I wouldn't have said, I surrender. I wouldn't have done a Nicholas Walters, but and that's what makes me angry about people. Like when Nicholas Walters quit with Lomachenko, I think, hang on, you're a good fighter. You're a better fighter than me, and you're a world champion, and you're quitting, and not because you're getting hurt, because you're getting beat, and you're feeling sorry for yourself.
Yeah, I found that was embarrassing. That's what you call an embarrassment. Just kind of chucking it so early in the fight as well. Just he's better than me. I'm not going to fight anymore. That's quite humiliating.
Yeah, I don't understand that. I could never be like that. So, yeah, that was my fight then, and there was no more fight left in me after that.
Just before we finish up, Barry, we've got a massive fight coming up. Not this weekend, the weekend after, with Rigo fighting Loma. How do you see that going?
Well, do you know what? Hang on a minute. Sorry, I'm in the office with the kids. What are you doing, Ted? You're ripping everything up. Yeah, sorry. There you go, mate. Take that. Yeah, I'm going for Lomachenko, and it's I'm picking the lazy option because he's bigger.
Yeah.
No, it is, but it is a lazy option. But I think it's the right option because I think Rigondeaux is the pound for pound the snappier puncher, the bigger puncher. I think he hits single shots pound for pound harder, but he's much smaller. And I think with Lomachenko being more aggressive, he'll force Rigondeaux to fight.
Yeah.
And Rigondeaux's a genius because he's such a genius. He can be super negative.
Yeah, he can be lazy. It seems at times.
He forgets to throw punches back because he's enjoying himself, and I understand that. But I think with Lomachenko, he won't have that luxury. I think he'll try to make you miss, but he'll get caught. I think he'll hit Lomachenko back, and I think Lomachenko's got a good chin, but I think that'll be tested. And I think it'll be a more of an exciting fight than people think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be this massive chess match. I think Lomachenko's. I think his whole philosophy of boxing now is to try and constantly sell himself, and I think after a few rounds of being maybe having more respect for Rigondeaux than others, then he'll go for it, and I think he'll force Rigondeaux to fight, which will make it for us a more entertaining battle.
Yeah, that's the intriguing thing is like because Lomachenko just doesn't seem as if he's got a negative bone in his body. So as you say, will draw Rigo out, and he'll have to fight. He'll not be able to sit on his skills.
And I think he'll show that he can. I think he'll make Lomachenko miss, but not because if Lomachenko tries to be too aggressive, then Rigondeaux can make him look a little bit silly. I think he could, but he's just not big enough. I don't think. I think the physical size and you got that presence in this. Amanda, sorry, mate. Is this when you're love? Oh well, sorry, we got two kids here, two youngsters, like. And one's 4 weeks and one's 22 months, and they're like synchronized shitting. It's called, I think. It's fantastic. I know. But I go for Lomachenko, but I hope it's an exciting fight because it's the first time that two double Olympic champions have boxed each other for a world title.
Yeah, and it's just kind of like two guys who we kind of see maybe struggle. People don't want to fight them. With Rigo and Loma, so it's good that now the two of them are actually meeting.
Yeah, and I think, for boxing's sake, we want Lomachenko to win because he's the guy who's easier to sell.
Yeah.
To be honest, but fuck me, if I was anywhere, and Rigondeaux, I think can gain in defeat. Cause I think he'll have to fight and he'll show some bits that people haven't really seen, too much of him. I think the Dallaire fight, I thought he was brilliant, and I thought that would have really sold him to the market. But didn't. I think in defeat he might gain.
Yeah.
And then be able to maybe to go down to a more realistic weight. Super bantamweight's his limit because he's like 5'3" or something.
Yeah, that's it. And he does find it hard because he's not the biggest name, although he might be the best talented. But it's not financially worth a lot of people to fight him.
Yeah, but and also tradition. If you put all the Cubans in one box, stereotypically they are very difficult to deal with. That in history, that's what they pretty much always been the case. And what's that? Oh, sorry, I don't know. And I also think that they most of the time they earn money and you can't get them to fight again until they spend all that money.
Yeah.
And then they're saying for the next one. I think that's what it's been like with a lot of these Cubans who could have been great and they haven't been because of that. And I don't know if we put Rigondeaux in that same bracket, but they're usually difficult to work with. But there must be a reason why he's not fighting at all. And a lot of it's probably because he is too fucking good. You know what? When you have a really good fighter who can't fucking sell a ticket, why would you want to fight him?
Yeah, that's it. And I know that the American press kind of don't like him. I've seen Dan Rafael.
But Dan Rafael don't like anyone who doesn't. If you don't just march forward, he don't like you, does he?
That's pretty much as we're just about to say. He doesn't respect the finer arts of boxing. He just he says that he's boring, but he doesn't praise any of the skill that the guy's got at all.
No, he's always about the aggressive. Listen, I think boxing, to help boxing flourish, you need some maybe the stand-up boxer needs to be aggressive. Cause for the average fan, for the people who don't watch boxing all the time, then you want to sell a bigger audience to keep boxing alive, and you want the best fighters in the world to be probably aggressive big punchers, because then people can get on board with that. No, look at Anthony Joshua now, big punching, giant of a heavyweight, and on the crowds he gets, and 90% of them probably never been to a boxing show in their life. So he's introducing new fans to the sport who, in the end, will become like you and I.
Yeah, well, that's kind of that's what the AJ's got. He gets he's got a good highlight reel, but he's more for he's kind of the casual fans, kind of man to come into an entrance level guy.
He is, and we're all saying, the rest of us, we're all saying he's a good fighter and he is good, but he's still learning his trade and he makes a lot of mistakes and all these things about him. But it's because we're trying to see it from a critical point of view without being cruel. But they don't give a shit about that. He's a good. He says all the right things in pre and post fight interviews, and he's inspirational to youngsters, and he looks the part, and he fucking beating everyone up. So. And
that's it. And as you said, he brings new fans to the sport, so that can only be good for everybody.
And new fans. I don't know your background, for instance. I don't know whether you boxed or whether you just you watched one fight one day and was a fan.
Yeah, no, I was 16-year-old, but no, I never actually fought amateur or that. Just did boxing training. That's it.
No, but there you go. So somebody, but that's what I mean. So now you know what. Obviously, I was speaking to you. You know the sport. I can tell you know the sport. So, but there was one day you didn't know the sport. You just knew there was a sport called boxing, and then you watched a fight somewhere that made you go, "Oh, look at this."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the same with me, that's what happened to me. I watched it, I want to do this is brilliant. And that's what AJ is doing to other people. So, in 10 years' time now, there's going to be some teenage kid who's never going to box, because it's not for everyone, and why should it be? You're fucking idiot if you want to get punched in the face, in my opinion.
That was a problem I had. I didn't like getting punched.
Well, fucking hell, I don't blame you, mate. I wish I never as well. But then he might end up doing your job.
Yeah.
Or people who work for Boxing News or Steve Bunce box, to be fair, but people, and by the way, I'm not saying I don't think you have to be an expert in boxing to be an expert. I said this earlier. I'm not one of those people who thinks just because you box, your opinion carries more weight than anyone else's. There's enough boxing fans. My father never really boxed, and he taught me more about boxing than any man on this planet. So, because he would listen to other people and get an overall consensus of what he thought was a good idea and a bad idea about boxing.
Yeah.
A lot of people have boxed. It's different nowadays, but back in especially the 80s and early 90s, you could tell what club someone boxed for by the way they boxed. You would have to, whatever kit they had on, you see he boxed for so-and-so club, because they all boxed the same way, because the trainer used to box that way, so you just teach people the way you boxed.
Yeah, instead of finding a style that suited
it. You see it now with pros like Adam Booth will only train, and listen, he's a fantastic trainer. He'll only train certain boxers the way who can box his style.
Yeah, I always think you can tell a Joe Gallagher.
The left hand low.
Yeah, you can always tell a Joe Gallagher trained guy as well. I think with a high guard kinda, and you can always tell. If you didn't have any names on the screen, you could always tell which one was a Smith or Morrison or that. They kind of fight the same.
Yeah, you can, and so some trainers are like that, but others, there's not. And listen, they're successful because they have a success. But what I mean is Joe Gallagher couldn't train me. I mean, he could train me. Sorry, but what I mean is he couldn't. Like Joe Gallagher turned Anthony Collar from a boxer into a domestic boxer, or a good boxer, into a world-class pressure fighter.
Yeah.
So a world champion, for God's sake. But his style did that. But I mean, he couldn't do that to me.
Yeah, that's it. It doesn't fit every hole.
But so Paul Butler that's why I always looked at Joe Gallagher. Paul Butler is a challenge for Joe Gallagher, because it's a tremendous gym, but he can't change Paul Butler. Be a fucking fool to it. I don't think he's going to do that. I think Joe knows the game enough. But I mean, if he tries to get Paul Butler to have that high guard, walk you down, blocking, defence, style of boxing, then he's taken away all what's good of Paul Butler.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening, but I'm saying that sort of thing. So the same with, with if Adam Booth all of a sudden took on Anthony Crolla a few years ago when he was world champion, and then made him box with a wide stance and a left hand low, then he would take what made him a world champion. He'd take it all away.
Yeah.
So that sort of thing. So I think they look for fighters that they can implement their style into. They can force their style on. Otherwise, what's the point? To be a Joe Gallagher style fighter, you have to be physically tough. You have to be a strong, tough guy.
Yeah, you have to be willing to take a bit of punishment, because they usually end up doing.
Yeah, of course they do. In the end, because you only step at the level you do. Yeah, but it's an effective style. It's a style which looks straightforward. It looks straightforward, like you think, okay, they're just going to walk forward with their hands close, close, like tight guard, and only throw when they're close. But
yeah.
It's a little bit more complex than that. Only a little bit, but it's effective.
Oh yeah, in the fighting bursts as well, eh?
Yeah, and it only comes unstuck at the highest level, to be honest.
Yeah.
Now, remember, I went over to Oakland to watch Paul Smith versus Andre Ward. I flew on my own. I went on my own. No cheerleading, anybody. Just flew on my own on a whim. I don't know why. I just thought, fucking go in. And to see, like, he was always going to be Paul Smith. There's nothing wrong with that. But to see how he pierced the guard, he threw a jab and Paul blocked it quite comfortable. And then the second jab, he just threw it a little bit of a different angle, only ever so slightly, and kept changing the angle of the jab to punch through the guard. And I realised then, you beat that style of fighter.
Yeah, it's kind of Andre Ward. Andre Ward would always find a way to win anyway. That's what he's famous for.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, he's not brilliant to watch. I mean, he's brilliant to watch close. The intricate things he does, he's fantastic. But as a crowd pleasing style, then he didn't have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Barry, I'll let you get back, because it sounds like you've got a lot going on there. And I just want to say thanks for coming on today and speaking to us.
Oh, no, sir, my pleasure, mate. Sorry, I know I rattle on too long and stuff, but...
Oh, no, don't be daft. You're not taking... I've got nothing planned for today anyway, that's me.
Well, you were fucked if you did.
But thanks very much for coming on, mate. It was brilliant having you. Right, see you later, bud.
Bye.
Bye.